I watched the movie Sophie's Choice and saw a lot of parallels between the egotistic hedonism point of view of the utilitarianism perspective on morality and ethics. There are a lot of examples throughout the entire movie, but some of the more obvious ones or the most apparent that I found were Sophie's decision to lie to both Stingo and Nathan um, about her past in general and her father. Her decision not to steal the radio in Auschwitz, and the decision ultimately that she saved her son over her daughter. Halfway through the film, we realize that Sophie's father was actually a very stark anti Semite, and that was pretty contrary to what we were led to believe up until that point. And Nathan didn't know this, and Stingo did not know this until Sophie had told him. And this decision for her to keep this a secret ended up hurting more people than if she would have just told the truth. He came to the conclusion that she would not tell anyone the truth because she was afraid of being alone. And I think that right there shows a very egocentric point of view for hedonism, that she would rather herself not be alone than put the happiness and the comfort of others above her by not telling them the truth. Secondly, Sophie was able to steal a radio while she was in Auschwitz, and that would have helped the resistance and likely would have helped a lot of people escape if she would have been able to do it. But ultimately, she again came to the conclusion that she needed to protect herself and her son, and she ended up not stealing the radio. If she would have stolen the radio, this quite obviously would have been a very altruistic approach to hedonism, where she was putting the happiness or potential happiness of others above herself. But rather, again, she chose her satisfaction and her happiness above others. And then lastly, the biggest choice that she had to make that we learned of in the film, where she decides that she was going to give up her daughter to be killed in order to save her son. I think a lot of people, when they watch this, might see this as a situation where, there's not going to be a good outcome and she's going to have to make a bad decision either way. And I really don't think that was the case in this. I think by choosing one over the other, she had to make a selfish decision internally. And I think she would have decided this based on the facts that he was more of the ideal German, which could help him not escape, but get out of there and live in Germany and be raised as a German, whereas the daughter was a little less ethnic German looking and wouldn't have fit into that Lebensprogramm. I think the more altruistic approach to this scenario would have been morbidly not choosing either of them and having the possibility that she herself would have been killed too. And I think by not doing that, she again chose an egotistic approach to the scenario where she had to choose herself. So there are no obvious, easy solutions or right solutions even for these kind of scenarios. And I don't mean to suggest that Sophie was a bad person and she made the wrong decisions. But I don't think they were the altruistic decisions in the end. And I think she could have done a lot more or done things differently in order to secure the happiness of others above herself. But it went with the thesis that I ended up creating, that in these times of really perilous and extreme human circumstances that we are going to put ourselves first for an egotistic hedonism point of view rather than focusing on others with a more altruistic one.